Good morning, Arshad. Good morning, Chandrasekhar. Good morning, Danesh. Good morning, Roshan. Good morning, Vedant. Good morning, Aditya. Good morning, Aryan. Good morning, Vaibhav. Okay, let's recap what we have gone through. So we have considered the, good morning, Harshad. We have considered the impact of, particularly economic impact of the expansion of British rule. Right. So in this case, we can consider three different stages, which are also termed as the stages of British colonialism. Right, stages of British colonialism. Fine. So in this very first stage is nothing but the mercantile phase. So East India Company used its political power to monopolize trade and dictate its terms. Right. And this has imposed inflated prices of goods. Then another thing is whatever maybe the revenue was being collected in Bengal, right, which was used to finance the exports to England. Then second thing is, or the second phase is industrial phase. In this phase, the Indians were forced to export raw materials to England and import also. There had been heavy import duty on the product to discourage the Indian traders, right? And this has lost foreign as well as home market. Right? So, and last one is the financial phase. So now British have consolidated their position in India, and their later on they made India as a market for manufacturers and great supplier of the raw materials. In that period, they have also introduced certain good things, right, such as railway in 1853, post and telegraph in 1853, banking system in 1881, right, and very specifically industries came into existence, that is the Tata Iron and Steel. Now, this was a kind of draining of wealth of India. So, on this draining of wealth of India, the Dain's leaders, right, have uh, commented on it. They have criticized it, right? Rather, they have blamed the policies by British for the ills to the Indian economy, right? Particularly Radhabhai Nauroji in his book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, and in R.C. Datta's book called Economic History of India. Right. So these were the two literatures in which there had been the uh, opinions on the British policies. Then what were the ways by which the draining of Indian wealth was actually being done? That are called constituents of drain. So very first thing here you can consider, that is nothing but the extortion by company servants, right? Extortion by company servants. So extortion was done of the rulers, zamindars, right? Merchants, and even common man as well, right? Then purchasing goods through revenue and exporting it to England, and that was called as investment. There had been duty. There had been the British traders. Huh? So salaries, home charges, pensions of company officials paid from Indian treasury. One more interesting point, whatever the British investors were investing in India, they had been paid interest for their investment. So these are the different ways, these were the different ways through which the Indian wealth had been drained. So how it had affected? So it had affected in different ways. It stunted growth of Indian enterprises, financed capitalist development in Britain, right? It hadn't allowed to develop the ability to compete as far as trading is concerned. Then the plantations, mines, jute mills, banking, shipping, export, import, etc. All these offices were managed by foreigners, and therefore Indian resources have drained in this way. Right. So this is what you can consider about the wealth of the uh, draining of the Indian wealth. Fine. Now, so Now, in this case, you can consider the different systems which are called the land revenue systems, which were imposed by Britishers, right, in order to collect the revenue, right? So you can have a point called the land revenue systems. Land revenue systems. Now, in these systems, you can consider different categories. So, very first one, you will be having the permanent settlement, right, which was also called as Sthai Bandobast. Right. So, very first category is called permanent permanent settlement. It was also known as Sthai Bandobast. Sthai Bandobast. So this was also called as Istamarari. Right. Istamarari. Right. Istamarari. So, Sthai Bandobast was introduced in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and some districts of Banaras and northern districts of Madras by Lord Cornwallis in 1793. Right. And it declared zamindars as the owners of the land. It had declared zamindars as the owners of land. Hence, they could keep 1/11th of the revenue collected to themselves, while the British got a fixed share of 10th/11th of the revenue collected. So the zamindars were free to fix the rents. Right. Zamindars were free to fix the rents. So obviously it would be imposing the irregular revenues. Right. Ultimately, it depends on the or the rights have been provided to the zamindars, so they would be defining it, right? How much revenue would be collected. So there had been assured ownership, right? So many zamindars stayed in the towns and exploited their tenants or peasants, right? So without looking for the actual produce, right, and say settling in town, right, they would not be coming across the actual situations, and they would be imposing the or they would be changing the revenues, right? So what are the different things in this case you can consider, right? So it was introduced in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and some districts of Banaras and Madras. Fine. By Lord Cornwallis. Right, Lord Cornwallis, who had imposed Sthai Bandobast revenue system. Right, so a factual kind of question. So Lord Cornwallis, when did it impose? It imposed in 1793. Right. So a factual kind of question you can consider. Right. Fine. So if anybody wants, you can have this one. So it was imposed by Lord Cornwallis. Now, what had happened in this system, right? So in this, Zamindars declared owner, right, of the land, owners of the land, and therefore they could uh, keep they could keep 1/11 of revenue collected. 1/11 of revenue collected, and obviously and therefore British got fixed 10/11 of the revenue collected, right? of the revenue collected. Of the revenue collected. Fine. So you can understand in this way what exactly this Sthayi Bandobast system, right, or the permanent settlement revenue system was. Right. One more thing was there. The Zamindars were free to fix the rents. Right. So Zamindars free to fix the rates. Right. Free to fix the rates. Now, in this case, what had happened? Zamindars have assured ownership, right? So Zamindars had assured ownership. Right? They had assured ownership. So many stayed in towns, right? And therefore, what had happened? And exploited their tenants, right? Or you can consider the peasants, Shetkari, Mazur. So this is the first system you can consider. Now see, simultaneously you can or in other provinces or regions you can consider different kind of system. So there had been a Rayatwari system, right? So I think okay, I have given number 1, Rayatwari system. Rayatwari system. In this Rayatwari system, Rayatwari system was introduced in and Madras because some of Madras have not implemented or have not introduced permanent settlement. Right. So Rayatwari system was introduced in Bombay and Madras, White, Munro, and it was recommended by Charles Reed. Right. And Charles Reed recommended. So in this, there had been a direct settlement made between the government and the Rayat, and there is no in between Zamindar. Right. So direct there is relationship between cultivator or the Rayat and the government. So whatever maybe the revenue is being collected, that was directly going to government. Right. So that is called Rayatwari system. So the revenue was fixed for a period not exceeding few years time period. So on the basis of so the revenue was fixed for a period, right, which was not exceeding more than 30 years. And that was on the basis of quality of the soil and the nature of the crop. Right. So it was based on scientific rent theory called Ricardo. Right. I think once in a while the question had been asked on this one. Right. Ricardo. Right. It was based on a scientific rent theory called Ricardo. So the position of cultivator became more secure but the rigid system of revenue collection. That means what? Today it is, if it is settled, so for next 30 years it it would not be changed, and that is the reason why you can consider it as rigid. Right. So the position of the cultivator became more secure, but the rigid system of revenue collection often forced him into the clutches of money lender. Right. So other year or in between some time period, there might be possibility that crop may not yield. So even in that particular period or that for that particular age, zamindars have to, cultivators have to pay the revenue, right? So besides this, the government itself became a big zamindar now and retain the right to an, right. So whenever, so this was at the merits of, if officers are merciful, there would be for the cultivators. But why British officers would be, or most of the would be merciful? So it was introduced in Bombay and Madras, right? So recommended by Viceroy Munro and Charles Reed and Charles Reed. Fine. So there had been direct settlement.